Hello everybody, welcome back to my studio. This is Emma and I'm just faffing about as usual, fiddling around in my sketchbook again today. Thanks so much for your lovely comments last week. It's lovely to have you here. Thank you for subscribing, thank you for your likes. I feel like we're really building a nice community here, and it's even if it's one person at a time who gets what I'm doing here, which is about playing and learning to experiment, and no outcome is needed, all of that stuff, you know, that's just great, it's really great. So today I'm going to play around on my sketchbook a little bit more. I've got some pages to finish off. I've got a lovely wad of things to show you here. Can you hear that? Isn't that lovely? I've had such a super time down here. I've had a lovely, I don't know, a couple of weeks. I've had no thought of doing anything else but just playing page by page, fiddling around with, you know, little scraps of paper, little bits of printing, nothing fancy, no rocket science here, and it's just been great. And I feel as though that's taken me on a very interesting journey. What I started with is not what I've kind of ended up with, let's put it that way. Where I thought I was going, I don't know. So where I've ended up with is a mystery also. It's really been good. So I've got a couple of things I want to share with you today before we get down to the nitty gritty and the fun bit. I'm very excited to tell you that I'm part of the WOW books. I think I mentioned it last year. I was asked if I would do a workshop for them. This is Daisy for Books. They're the I can't think of the word, publishers. And it's Maggie Gray, who's a very well-known textile artist, and she's been doing these books for about, I don't know, nearly 20 years. So this is number 8. It's out now. I will leave a link down below, and as part of that you get a password with, you not only get this beautiful book, which is fantastic, I mean the photography in it, in the care with which they publish it is just brilliant, but you also get to be part of a members club online, and you get all sorts of goodies with that, and I think they add things into it through the year as well. It's not just what you get to start with, is what I understand. So I've got a little mini workshop there waiting for you, should you choose to go and get the book. So as I say, I'll leave a link down below for that. That's a really nice way to start the year, I have to say. Real, you know, kind of, well, it's kind of funny because I sit here in my little studio and I just make things, and occasionally I get asked to do something like that, and it's just so exciting. It really is. It makes me realise that actually maybe I am doing something that's of use and value to the world, because sometimes you doubt yourself, don't you? Everybody does. We all have days when you think, oh goodness me, what am I doing? What am I doing? So the other thing is I wanted to mention was I've got a couple of workshops online, which you actually pay for, okay, and again I've got a link down below to those. What coming up is obviously Valentine's Day, so I thought I would mention this beautiful heart that you can go and make. I give you all the instructions, you get all the videos and all the photographs of how to go about making this. You don't have to frame it. I guess you could make a back for it and just hang it up as a decoration for yourself. You can make mini versions. I think on the video I show you a brooch that I made as well. And the important thing is that it's learning to use textures, learning to create textures using the fabrics that you've got, as well as producing yourself something pretty for your home or for yourself. Or give it as a present to somebody. So I just thought I'd mention that. Those videos are not going to be up there for much longer. They're coming down in April because I'm revising what I'm doing, and the site that they're on actually is going to be withdrawn from the internet because they're doing something different as well. It's obviously a year of change, so I'm going to be thinking about what I'm going to be doing workshop wise this year. So that's all in the melting pot. Lots of new exciting things happening, I'm sure. So, but in the meantime, I think it's time we got down to the nitty gritty of this, and I will show you where I've got to. Okay, so I've got lots of bits of work in progress here. As you can see, sometimes it's just one thing starts you off. So I had this little picture taken from a diary. I've got this lovely diary that, as I mentioned last time, and I just thought, you know, when you paint a page up, I mean, the colours I've used this time have gone from, they've changed. They've definitely gone quite muddy sometimes, but I quite like that. They're very soft colours. So as I say, I had this little picture and I thought, well, that would be quite nice on there. And then I've got possibly, I'm going to have a strip going up as though it's a tree, and then have some words going across it, but as though it's the bark of the tree. That's not quite ready yet. I need to work a little bit on that. Sometimes the ideas come of what I roughly want to do, and then I actually have to kind of really delve into it and just start playing and see what comes. So I've still got lots of little bits that I can be using. These are my little trial bits that I add on and look and take away. Here's one I did earlier, which is similar idea to that, where I've just taken it was somebody's painting, and it's just a very atmospheric piece with the moon. So I've just added little strips of fabric across and a little bit of stitching. That's a little bit of tracing paper that I'd printed on, and I didn't really like what I'd printed, but you know, when you stick it behind there, it looks quite nice. This is obviously pre-printed, and I just feel that's got quite a nice atmosphere going on with it. On the other side, it's just got some writing that I did using a water-soluble crayon, and I just wet it a little bit, so it's very blurry and very indistinct. But again, you know, you can be adding things onto that. You can be turning that into a landscape if you want to. There are things you can add. This is all I've done, honestly, for about a fortnight now. I've just come down and gone, oh well, do I like that with that? Does that go nicely there? Or shall I just leave it alone and just let the words and those simple lines, do they, you know, is that sufficient? You know, thousands of possibilities. So I think I might leave that, because it's quite nice to have some plainish pages to go with the more sort of detailed ones, like the one over there. So this one I've started stitching, but I think I want to come back to it. I was going to do some grasses on it. And I think I might draw a bit onto it first as well. In fact, I might just do that now. Let's work on this one. It's all again this, because I don't know whether I'm going to like what I do until I've done it. It's like sometimes you just have to be brave and have a go at doing it. So as I say, I was going to stitch, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some nice marks on as well, using this simple, this is just an oil pastel. I think it's just a roundy one. I've had these for years. So that makes some quite nice soft marks going onto there. And then I think with a bit of stitching on top, you'll get a nice sort of layering effect. Do I want to use a different colour? Put a little bit of brown, but I think that's too brown. If I had a nice dark brown, I think I would be tempted to put it on there. In fact, I'll tell you what I will get. So I might just have a little look at these. Sometimes I really, as I say, don't quite know what I'm going to be doing until I do it, and then I either like it or I don't like it. And if I don't like it, well, I have to just change it in some way, or take it out, or cover it over. I should have a nice dark brown one in here, but yeah, it's just hiding from me. Oh well, never mind, I won't use those. I think we'll just keep to my plan A, which is just a little bit of drawing, and then I'll do some stitching into that as well, and I'll show you that when it's done. This one I'm still fiddling around with. Again, I found all these lovely images just in magazines, and it's funny how as I've torn them up, they've become more and more useful as little bits have emerged, and I've used different bits that I wasn't really intending to use. So you can start to play around with words and text. You can have lines going up and down. This text I don't really like. I want it a bit longer. I quite fancied a bit of a contrast really, but I quite like the text. I don't like text to be obvious. I like it to be a bit hidden, so you know, I might hide that behind something else, like a piece of, I don't know, a piece of tissue or something. You know, I might take a piece of tissue and put it over the top of that, just to knock it back a bit. But this is all I'm going to do, is play around, stitch some things in, and then we'll put the whole book together. See, that's too creamy for my eye. That's not the right colour. That's a bit better. So I'm just going to keep fiddling until I get it ready to stitch. So I've just glued these little pieces down. I've used this torn piece of newspaper that's got some silver paint on and some white splodges. Put some tissue paper, as I said, across the text. And I've no idea what it's for. You know, it's just the colours appeal, and I put this at the side, which just seems to give it a nice edge to it. And now I'm just thinking, well, do I do some drawings across the top of it? I'm just quite tempted to just go and do some stitching. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So the story of my sketchbook. I bought this sketchbook to do some work in for seasons for my upcoming exhibition. and my thought was autumn, so I bought this book with this lovely autumn cover. Now actually it's not what I want at all, but the cover will have to wait because I've been very busy on the inside, and I'm going to talk you through some of this now. And just, in fact, I'm not going to talk really, I'm just going to show you what I've done and what you can do with little bits of bubble wrap, little bits of painted lace, and a bit of imagination that just gets going once you start playing. This one is printed. This is a little bit that's printed. If I show you, I'll just take this out from here. This piece I stitched to go across the base of a picture, and then what I've done is I've actually painted the back, because that's where all the stitching is, and I printed it out on silver on here, and I think that was really effective. And this is now a piece that you can use again and again, or you can have it going across your landscape to make a bit of, you know, something different. So you don't have to use a whole page even. These are the umbles that I drew in blue and stitched in grey, and I really like them on the back as well. Picture from a magazine, more inspiration. And this is the same little seed heads printed in this sort of pinky lilac colour, and I've kind of got them across this landscape because I was playing with this landscape to see whether I wanted something else across the base of there. This has got some trees and some hedgerow drawn in. I like the way this one kind of goes. You get a feeling that the landscape is going wider. It's not just restricted to this page, it's actually going wider than the page. A little bit of writing about what I'm thinking here, and I've definitely moved into a much more wintry feeling. And the idea that the seasons are not just one season really. So that bit goes that way. So it's quite nice to have, your pages don't all have to go the same way. And this is the one that I've just done, which I'm pleased with. I would have never in a million years thought I was going to use lilac as a colour. It's just hilarious. And that's the stitched page with the writing on. This one, I don't know if you can see, it's got some little very fine, delicate umbles drawn on with a oil stick, just an oil wax crayon, oil crayon there, I think they are, yeah. And this was my page that I put in the first video, I think, or the second, and showed you to make a wider page. It's really nice because then you can have bits that flap out and fold. And again, a magazine picture with some additions and a little bit of writing, a bit of printing and writing. See, these will inspire me further because it's not so much what they look like, it's how they feel to me. So these were the grasses that I've just stitched, which was kind of taken from this idea. Another little landscape. Maybe that's a river, maybe it's a lake, maybe this is a lake, who knows. Maybe that's little tiny snowflakes, but they're purple. It's just all about your imagination. I really quite like this one. This was one that sort of grew. This is little bits of magazine, just torn pictures, and all I was looking for was these little fine marks on them and the colours. I've done this fairly boring background. I didn't really like the background. I didn't like this bit particularly, but then when I added these bits on, it sort of became something different. And I added these trees on, and I just like the idea that they're not completely there. They're a bit like they're coming and they're not coming. They're there and they're not there. I didn't want to draw them in completely. I just wanted them to feel like they're sort of hovering in your imagination. And this little piece down here is a piece of tracing paper over a piece of lace, and it's got some writing in, and the writing is about what's going on in the soil underneath. So it's a feeling of what's going on underneath the landscape, perhaps in the winter time when we think it's all dead, but there's all sorts of microbes and things working away down there. Again, just an interesting page. This was the brown page that I did, or I don't know if you remember it. I've probably boggled your brains by now, but I did a brown page with brown paper, painted it, and I absolutely hated it. Totally hated it, so much so that I ripped it off. I ripped the paper off and I put a new piece on, and then I just printed it with some silver, and then these little seed heads popped in and this bit of corrugated. You know, there's no rhyme or reason, it's just suddenly it looks good together, doesn't it, you know? Again, this was like a wax resist using my oil pastel and a bit of paint slopped on. Very technical term, that, slopping on your paint. Let's just get that in a bit better. This one was actually a white page. I suddenly thought I wanted to do something quite light and white and grey. And I had this piece of tissue paper that I printed with my little roller that's got a pattern on it. Again, putting the words underneath something so they're knocked back. So they're not important, but it's the idea of words being there is important to me. And this lovely piece of, you know, pre-printed corrugated that I've printed from, cut it up, stitched it in, and these gorgeous little seed heads here. Yeah, this was a very early page. Don't like it at all, but I'm keeping it in because it reminds me not to be controlling. It's reminding me to say, well, this is where you started, this is what you did. And I do quite like the feeling that these are grasses and they're just moving, or they're seed heads and they're just able to move because they're not completely solid. I like the background, I just don't like that colour. So, but it's in there to remind me that it doesn't all have to look the same. And this is about the last page that I've done. Again, just simple squares, bits of this, bits of that. And there's the stitching. Beautiful. I really like that. I really like that. I love the simplicity of it. So I've got some spare pages, spare scary pages, so there's more I can do. I think this is a work in progress. There's still more to go on. But I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. I can't tell you. It's turned out amazingly different to how I really thought it was going to be. Well, in fact, I had no idea how it was going to be. So I hope you've enjoyed coming on this journey with me. Thank you. It's great to know you're out there, and I'm not just talking to myself in here. And if anything I say or do just gets you, you know, out of a rut or inspired to do something yourself, great. It doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be this size. You don't have to do. I mean, you know, I am full time. I work full time as an artist, which means it doesn't mean I do every day. It means I come down and do a couple of hours at a time. But I have the capacity to do that. And I appreciate that not everybody has that time, but you know, you could do 10 minutes. You could build up one page and do it 10 minutes at a time. The important thing is just playing and having fun. So I will leave you for today. In fact, I'm going to leave you with these because these I think these are my top favourite. I'll leave you with these, and I will see you again very soon, and we'll see what's going to come as a result of doing this sketchbook. I think I might be getting a box of fabrics out. It's about time. So see you soon. Bye for now.